What's up guys? In this video I'll give the month 1 report on my experiences with niche website builders. So if you haven't watched the previous videos, I'm doing 4 months with niche website builders of 10,000 words of content per month, and then 4 months of the Haro link building strategy with niche website builders. So this first month we've added 10,000 words. But quickly, a word on the onboarding process, because it was my first month working with niche website builders. I would say that the onboarding process was one of the better experiences out of the whole thing that I'm going to discuss. I'm going to discuss pros and cons in this video. One of the better things was the onboarding. So when I signed up, they emailed me straight away and said, you want to set up a meeting with your content manager. When I turned up to the meeting, it was just over Zoom. There were 2 people. There was the content manager and there was a keyword research lady there. And we had a chat about what my goals and expectations were, and then they decided to do some keyword research for me that they forwarded to me a couple of days later. So the onboarding was really good. I sent out an SOP for them, and they said they'll send the SOP to the writers and they'll get started. A couple of days later, they sent the keyword research that they'd completed, so they spat out about maybe 50 keywords for me, which was more than I expected, seeing as I was never going to get through the 50 keywords for the 4 months of content creation. So I appreciated that. When I looked through the keywords, one thing that was positive about that was it gave me some ideas that I hadn't previously had, and it made me think a little bit more outside the box of what I was doing. I already had a list of keywords that I really wanted them to target, and I compared the keywords that they gave me to the keywords I really wanted to target, and I decided to stick with my keywords. So that keyword research process for me was more of an opportunity to get someone to do keyword research who wasn't me, and see what they would input and what they would come up with. At the end of the day, I did prefer my own keyword research because I used the method where you look for weakness on the SERPs, whereas they were using a method where essentially they sorted by KD in Ahrefs. I think that the KD in Ahrefs method probably works better if you're link building, because it essentially looks for keywords where there are no links to articles or as few links as possible to articles on the first page of Google. But when you go into the first page of Google, sometimes it's still competitive. It's still very good on-page SEO, even though there's no links pointing to those articles. And that's what I found with the keyword research they did for me. So I stuck with my own keyword research where there was obviously weakness in the SERPs, because I thought that was probably going to deliver better results. And then after that, we agreed upon 6 keywords to write. So it was 10,000 words of content. So I said, look, let's write 6 articles around about 1,600 words per article. And they sent them to their writers, and the writers got to work. When I got all of the articles back, they were back within like 2 weeks. So they had a month to send back all the articles. They got them back in about 2 weeks. So that was a really good thing. They're definitely on top of things there. When I looked through the content, there were 6 articles written by 4 writers. Or at least like from the writing style, I could kind of deduce that there were 4 writers who wrote there. 2 of the writers, I said, can I please have those writers back? They're really good. 2 of the writers, I said, please don't get those writers to write for me again, because I didn't like their writing style. Those 2 writers who I asked not to write for me again didn't follow the SOP I provided, whereas the other 2 better writers did follow the SOP. So it was a little bit of a mixed bag. Hopefully going forward into months 2, 3, and 4, because I'm saying, look, give me those writers, not those writers, it'll improve over time, right? And I'll hopefully continue to get the writers who I prefer and then drop off the writers who I don't like, because they've got like over 100 writers that they can choose from. So all the content has indexed already after a couple of days. This site's always had good indexing for some reason, even though several of my other way more established sites have poorer indexing. But for whatever reason, they all have indexed, but I'll throw up the Ezoic income right here, and I'll throw up the traffic, and you can see that the Ezoic income and traffic are still pretty flat. Obviously, these articles haven't had any time to rise in the SERPs yet, so I'm not going to expect many results until probably like month 5 or so of working with niche website builders and adding more content to the site. So that's my experience in the first month of niche website builders. Overall, I think that the strength of the service is that they are good content managers. Like, I can see someone who just wants someone to manage their site and has the money to put aside and say, look, can you manage my site for me? They kind of do that, and you can sort of drop in every now and then and give them feedback and give them advice, or sort of you can manage like the top line, like this is the direction I want the site to go in, and then they'll go ahead and manage it and assign writers and whatnot, and then you can just pop in and say, I don't like this writer, I do like that writer, and you can sort of have the final say on the keyword research, but then they'll go ahead and do the stuff. So that's really useful. One thing that I've had to come to terms with is that I am a content manager myself, right? So I am usually deeply in the weeds on working on my sites, and not only setting the direction of my sites, but overseeing the writers and overseeing the keyword research. And like, I oversee everything, and pulling my claws out of it and letting someone else do it has been difficult for me personally, because I'm so in the weeds with SEO every single day of my life, right? The other thing that I would say is that I'm not taking everything bit of advice that they get and just running with it. I'm also making sure that I use my critical thinking there. So for example, with the keyword research, they provided some keywords for me, but then I was like, well, I'm not link building right now, so those keywords aren't the best keywords for me. I want some keywords that I can target without building links. So let's go with my keywords. So I'm not taking everything they say and running with everything. I'm just looking at what their advice is, and then sometimes I'll take it, sometimes I won't take it. So that's my experience so far with niche website builders. We'll see how we go next month. Next month, I'm changing up the keywords I'm giving them. I'm giving them 6 keywords from another content cluster. So we'll see how that goes. And it's going to be a different SOP. And I'm just going to reinforce, because this month, 2 of the writers, as I said, didn't follow the SOP. I'm just going to reinforce, like, the writers have to follow this SOP. That's why I'm giving the SOP. Hopefully you can see from this review that I'm not just selling niche website builders, even though that they are giving me this content for free. I told them that I would do a genuine review. So I'm going to tell you what I did like, what I didn't like, what my experience was overall, and not just like, hey, buy this. But if you are interested in using niche website builders, I have got an affiliate link below. Please do use the affiliate link. It costs you nothing and it helps me out. All right, cheers guys, and I'll see you next month for the month 2 update from the Niche Website Builders project.